It's time for the County Manager's Report, and County Manager Jim Nichols is with us. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you.
And I'm Lloyd Higuera, and we're going to be taking a look today at the September 3rd and September 17th meetings of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. And Jim, we'll look first at the September 3rd meeting. And at that meeting, commissioners gave staff direction on forming a citizens task force to look at flooding issues in the county. Can you give us more detail there?
Sure. Well, initially we went to the board with the concept of a policy on the county accepting maintenance responsibility for private driveway culverts. That's been an outstanding issue for some time, where we have been maintaining those private culverts, but sort of on a temporary basis, and that was just based on the flooding from last year and the more recent floods this year. We really needed some formal policy direction from the board to do that on a permanent basis. But also we're going to need a source of funding to address that, because we really don't have funding dedicated to drainage, stormwater, or flood control. So that was our initial approach when going to the board. However, they heard a lot of public comment where many of the people made note of the fact that the culvert maintenance wasn't the big issue and wasn't their big concern. And so the board decided instead, as you just mentioned, to have us work closely with a citizen task force to help advise us and help work with us on how to address bringing a master drainage plan forward and how to fund it. It and a lot of the work that'll come out of a master plan. So I've been collecting applications from citizens. One of the other directions from the board was that this task force be made up of a cross-section of citizens throughout the county. They didn't want any one particular area weighted heavier than others. And so I'm going through applications right now, looking at the qualifications of the folks, and we've gotten some great technicians and folks who are engineers and who are knowledgeable in the drainage field who have volunteered. And so now we're just looking at screening down that list based on where they live and what their experience is, and putting this group together hopefully in the near future. And then finally my charge from the board was to come back to them in February with the findings of this task force.
Did you get quite a few applications then?
We did. I was really impressed. I think we got upward close to 20 at least.
Oh, wow.
And from all over the county. So a lot of folks genuinely interested in helping, who want to help be part of the solution, and who want to better the community. So as I said, we're looking at those applications right now. I'd like to keep the group to a manageable level, maybe 5 or 6 members, and then of course there'll be myself and staff working with them over the next several months to come up with recommendations that we'll bring to the board, both on how to address a master plan and how to fund it.
So we definitely have a citizens task force on flooding in our future.
Yes, we definitely do.
Very good. Okay, good work. Also at that September 3rd meeting, commissioners heard an update on the operations at the Community Senior Center, and how are things going there?
I don't have enough adjectives to describe how great the Community and Senior Center is working. It is, I started my career here at the time of the opening of the Community Center. I called it at that point a jewel of Douglas County, and it has not failed to live up to that. It is incredible as far as the fact that our revenues are ahead of what we projected, our expenditures are below what we projected, and the involvement and engagement of the community and being a part of it and utilizing that facility has been just top-notch. So the short version is that the Community and Senior Center is well ahead of all projections and is doing great and is just in line with what we hoped it would be for this community.
Well, that's great news. Commissioners also approved a labor agreement. Actually, this month they approved a couple of them. Well, first we'll talk about the Douglas County and Douglas County Sheriff's Protective Association agreement.
Right. That was the second of 3 contracts that we were responsible to secure with our bargaining units. It was really a very professional process, and I really want to compliment all the folks involved, both on their side and ours. It was cordial, it was professional, and in the end we came up with a contract that we could recommend to the board that was affordable and sustainable. It is only a one-year deal, as is the second one you mentioned, but all in all, we'll be back to talking to them at the negotiating table in a few months from now for the following year. I think it creates a good foundation for us for our next negotiations, and to me it's responsible both to the employees and to the county.
Okay, and we can skip ahead here to the September 17th meeting because also commissioners approved at that meeting another labor agreement.
Right.
This one with the Sheriff's Protective Association Sergeants Bargaining Unit. And did that negotiation go as smoothly as the other?
I hate to use the word ditto, but yes, it really, again, another very professional bargaining unit that their representatives worked well with us. It was certainly, in all instances, there was a lot of information sharing, a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth exchange of ideas, but in the end, everyone was reasonable, everyone represented their sides appropriately, and again, this is another case where I believe we ended up with an agreement that is fair to the employees and responsible for the county at the same time.
Okay, so really all your agreements, labor agreements, are behind you now.
Yes, as I said, both of these last two are one-year agreements, so we'll be back to the negotiating table in a matter of a few months, but it's a good start and a good jumping off point for the next set of negotiations.
Okay, one more item from the September 3rd meeting, and that was commissioners denying a request from the Gardnerville Ranchos General Improvement District. This was to have all the roads and right-of-ways within the Ranchos transferred from Douglas County to the GID. Right. Could you explain further on this?
Sure, and it was certainly a reasonable request on their part from I guess I'll say a logistical standpoint, to have the roads that they maintain within their boundaries that are not under their ownership and not under their complete control can at times be challenging for them. But in concert with the district attorney's office, we determined that it wasn't really appropriate and maybe not even possible to dedicate our roads to any GID as was being proposed. But because the county never accepted the maintenance responsibilities for those roads, the GID still holds that as their duty. And it's something where we certainly want to continue the collaborative efforts we've developed with all the GIDs to this point, so that we can work closely with them on issues that affect how they maintain the road, but that we may be in control of based on our ownership of the roads. So I think those strong relationships we have will allow us to see through this issue.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the September 17th meeting. And at that meeting, commissioners accepted the resignation of Claudette Springmeyer as Douglas County's public guardian. And they also approved a job description and pay range to hire a new public guardian. But Claudette is going to remain on as public administrator.
Correct.
That's getting a little complicated now, but I'll let you untangle that.
I'll do my best. For those who don't realize it, Claudette sort of wears two hats as the administrator and the guardian. The administrator is an elected position. The guardian, in her case, is a contracted position because through her firm, Sierra Guardians, she has been operating or performing that function on behalf of the county. She is basically splitting that role, and she has resigned or tendered the resignation of her company from performing the guardian role effective the end of this year, this calendar year, but will continue in the administrator function. And based on how we see things best operating moving forward, as you just mentioned, there was a job description created because rather than contracting the services out to a company, we think in the future it'll be best if it's an actual employee of the county. So that's why we needed the job description approved, because previously, since it was done under a contract, there wasn't a job description to go with it. As you've also said, Claudette will still be with the county in her elected role, and she's very enthusiastic about wanting to help transition the new person who's brought on into this role, because with her expertise, having done this for several years now, she certainly has a great insight that'll be good for the next person. And so where we go from here is that Human Resources will be putting the position out for advertisement in the very near future, probably in the next week or two, to be honest with you, and then we'll be recruiting for the guardian position and going through a recruitment and interview process, and then eventually bringing someone to the board for their consideration.
I assume this resignation was workload related. I mean, she just had too many cases?
That's what I heard as well, is that this is a demanding role, and certainly one that can be a challenge. And so when you're wearing two hats, performing two
Sure.
jobs, it can be difficult to do that. And then when one of them is cumbersome on its own, that just adds to the burden. So I think it'll be good for Claudette, and it'll be nice to have this position brought into the county, and so we'll have maybe a greater network of support that we can offer this person.
Great. One more item from the 17th meeting. Commissioners did conduct the annual performance evaluation for Chief Todd Carlini, and they definitely had the glowing adjectives flowing at that time.
Yes.
He does a great job.
He does, and he's a credit to the county. I will say that certainly I'm not speaking for the board, but their own words indicated exceptional across their reviews, and they spoke very highly of him. I offered my feelings as well, which are that he is a great colleague and someone I really enjoy working with, and he's a great asset to the county and a great help to me, and certainly over my first year as county manager. So I would say in summary he did pretty well in the eyes of the board, and they basically just said keep up the good work, but don't overwork yourself.
Okay. Well, that's a look at the September 3rd and September 17th meetings of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Do you have a preview of any items coming up in October?
Well, I'm glad you're asking, because it's important for everyone to realize the October meeting is being moved because we have a scheduling conflict. So it will now be on Monday, October 5th, where it would have been Thursday, October 1st. The conflict is created by a NACO, which is Nevada Association of Counties meeting. But on the 5th, really the highlight of that meeting will be countywide connectivity. This is the last and final push moving forward to the board for their consideration on whatever funding sources they wish to consider for the various projects identified in the countywide connectivity program. And I do want to point out this, it's really been a very healthy process. We've heard from a lot of the public. There's certainly been some folks who've expressed dissatisfaction with connectivity, and we've taken their comments to heart. And they've really helped change and morph connectivity from where it was in the beginning to where it is today. And so I think people will see a very different version of what they've heard in the past to what they see going to the board this time. It doesn't mean they'll like it any better, but certainly we did our best to pay attention to what the public was saying, and what we bring forward to the board will be, we believe, the most viable option for addressing this community's long-term transportation needs, both from a maintenance standpoint and from an expansion development standpoint.
Okay, so Monday, October 5th, the
Correct.
first meeting
Correct.
of the commissioners, and that'll be on a Monday rather than the 1st.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Well, Jim, I want to thank you for all the information you've shared with us here on the County Manager's Report. That's what we do here. And Jim Nichols, our County Manager, I'm Lloyd Higuera, and we'll see you next time on the County Manager's Report.